How's it going, everyone? Today I'm going to be doing another Blu-ray update. It's been, let's say, 6-7 months since the last one I did, and quite a bit of titles have accumulated since then. Obviously not all of them are here because I did some shopping sporadically throughout the months, but June and July were probably the heaviest shopping months with the Criterion sale, Amazon Prime Day sales, and the Arrow Video sale as well. So let's dive into some of these titles that I picked up. So let's start off with a controversial one, and that is Charade on Blu-ray, not on Criterion. So funny thing is, this is a film that for some reason made a mistake, got around it's not copyright protected, so I think multiple studios have the right to redistribute it. It is originally made through Universal, but they hadn't done a restoration of this, or at least a proper restoration, until 2011 or 2010 when Criterion released it. And it being basically not being protected by any copyright, I feel like this gave a lot of studios the opportunity to just steal other people's restorations. And this is probably what happened with Universal, because looking at still images, and I have to actually check it out, but looking at many still photos and comparing it to the Criterion release, I found that the picture quality looked very similar. The only difference I see, which I actually prefer honestly, there's less grain in this copy. And I don't mean that they got rid of all of the grain, because that's pretty terrible, but they scrubbed some additional grain off of the Criterion release, which I feel like was a little bit too much. It almost was like an extra texture on the characters' faces. They also made it darker, which hid some of the additional grain in the background as well. And one of the things that is kind of a coin toss really, is the audio track. Whereas the Criterion had a lossless 1.0 track, this comes with a 2.0 DTS-H track. Will basically be coming out of the front speakers as opposed to the center speaker. So I feel like that would be a little bit more immersive. The main reason why I chose this is because the price point. We're talking about a movie that's $9 versus a movie that's $20, and when it's not on sale, it's $40. So I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like this is Criterion's work that has just been tweaked a little. So this is one of the rare instances where if you can save money, why not go with a big studio release of a film that has been remastered by Criterion. It's better than watching it on Amazon Prime, that's for sure, because I don't know where they dug up that copy, because that looks like a VHS copy, honestly. It looks terrible. Moving on to some Criterion titles, I did pick up Fritz Lang's M. Recently saw this and was blown away by this movie. I think it's a really great serial killer movie. I think one of the first to come out, honestly. Just an amazing film that everyone should check out. It has aged tremendously for a 90-year-old film. Next up is Bicycle Thieves. What a powerful, moving film from Italy right after World War II ends, where people are just picking up the pieces, trying to get on with their lives, and as difficult as a time period this was to live in, this felt like almost going back in time and really feeling what people felt right after the war. And the people in this movie are actually all non-actors, and the fact that they were able to sell you on their performances is truly incredible. It's a very sad film with a simple premise, but a very captivating and moving film that I think everyone needs to check out. I also did pick up Akira Kurosawa's High and Low, which I'm still waiting to get, because it's a film that's kind of hard to get on Criterion, because usually it's never in stores. I've checked all the Barnes & Nobles in the area in the 100-mile radius, and they're all sold out. Eventually waited like a week, and then it popped up on Amazon. Of course, it's not Amazon Prime, so I'm only going to get it like mid-August. So that will be another title. Great Akira Kurosawa film. I've only seen 2 of his films so far, and that one is my favorite. Next up, we have a few westerns, and that's Westworld. The original Terminator, and the first movie with CGI. Very simple story. It's written by Michael Crichton, who did Jurassic Park. or at least wrote the novel Jurassic Park, and he's done a few other things. He's a really accomplished author, and I just really love the premise in this film. It's a very typical, simple Western, but I think the premise really elevated to new heights and was inspiration for, obviously, other great sci-fi films like Terminator. So this is just a fun one to watch. And inspired the new TV show that we have on HBO that's kind of gone in the wrong direction, if you ask me. Next up, we have a fun one with Jackie Chan, Shanghai Noon, Shanghai Nights. I've been eyeing this movie for years for it to drop in price, and eventually it did. It dropped to, I think, $10 during Amazon Prime Day. These are just fun films. Jackie Chan is such an entertainer. You don't even have to be a fan of Westerns to enjoy these. They're silly. They're not necessarily the greatest movies, but they're a whole lot of fun to watch. Next up is Ready or Not, one of the most surprising and refreshing horror films I saw in recent years. Another fun film with maybe kind of an absurd plot, but still one of the most original films you will see in the last couple of years in terms of, in the horror genre at least. It's a film that doesn't take itself too seriously, and I can appreciate a film like this. It was a lot of fun, and I've seen it a couple of times, and it still holds up and has plenty of rewatch value. Next up is a Frank Capra film. Wonderful movie that was almost lost in time. So much went into this restoration. This movie, the studio held on to only the theatrical cut, so there was about an hour of footage missing, if not more. And at that time, they didn't really appreciate holding on to movies and restoring them or doing anything. You know, they did the best that they could to restore it. And it's a really neat idea for a film here about, I'd say, about escapism and especially the time period that it's set in during the war. I feel like this is a movie that's still relevant to this day. But going back to the restoration, they did the best that they could, and there's still like 7 minutes of missing footage. Somehow they were able to get the audio track so you can hear the audio in the background, but it's 7 minutes kind of scattered throughout, so you'll have scenes where they put up a picture of the actor or a still of that scene, because 7 minutes, unfortunately, is missing from this film. But it doesn't really take away from how really great this film is. It's one of Frank Capra's most underrated films. I still like It's a Wonderful Life a lot more, but I do think I like it more than Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. I feel like it's really an overlooked film that people really need to check out. Next up is some incredible deals at the Dollar Tree with Robocop, the original Robocop. I don't rewatch this film too often. I do like it. I own the Steelbook DVD copy, and I've always been waiting for like just the right price. I mean, I know it's always around like $5, but for some reason I never go around to like pick it up at FYE or whichever, Walmart or whatever it is. But then I saw it at the dollar store. I'm like, you know what? Today is the day I picked this movie up for $1. You cannot go wrong with a movie like this. Speaking of which, another movie worth $1, Gravity. I thought this movie was okay. I do need to rewatch it. I've only seen it the one time. I know that it got, 8 Oscars? And I'm like, I've always been kind of mad at this film because there was so much hype around it, and then Interstellar came out, which is, I think, 10 times better than this film. And that film got snubbed by the Academy, which is crazy. It's such a deeper film with an amazing score, better performances. We're floating around in space here, guys. That's all we're doing. And it's such a short movie. By the time this movie started getting good, which was like around, I don't know, after the first 45 minutes, we only had like 30 minutes left. It's such a short sci-fi film, so I need to revisit it. I know I thought it was okay at the time, and then once I saw Interstellar, the conversation was done and out. I didn't even want to watch this movie. But for $1, I think I could revisit this film. I know it's not a bad movie. I just, I need to revisit it. That's all. Next up, another kind of underrated film. It Comes at Night. I kind of like the idea that we don't actually see the monsters in this film. And I thought this could be shocking for some people and kind of a disappointment, but I've always said that your imagination is always going to be the scariest thing that you will ever experience. And I feel like by not showing us the actual creature and just holding the tension the entire time, because it's almost like Jaws. They use music to kind of build up the suspense, not show the shark. And I feel like the suspense was really great because you never know what will happen. And then we come to the ending, and that's where I think people are kind of disappointed. I like the ambiguous ending. I think it's very ambitious and just very different. And we don't have a lot of films that really go for it often. Next up is another recent film that I discovered, and I've been putting this off for years, and I don't know why, and that's Dark City. Incredible concept. I definitely see the inspiration that was found from Metropolis, which is another film I saw earlier this year. Such an underrated film. Why the hell is nobody talking about this movie? You get some really great performances, and it's a film with a great concept. And not just a great concept, because movies don't just stand on the concept, but the story built around it is really darn good as well. If you haven't seen this film, please do check it out. It's the director's cut. I don't know, I've never seen the theatrical cut, so it might be pretty terrible. I don't know. But the director's cut is really good. Do see it if you get the chance to see it. Next up is Atonement, another film I recently saw. Great actors, James McAvoy, Keira Knightley, and a big surprise here, Saoirse Ronan. Like, this girl has been in the business for years, and somehow the first film I've seen her in was Lady Bird and Hannah, and this is an even older film. So, really surprised by that, really. But a really great love story with a twist. Not big on romance films, but I think this is one of the best ones I've seen. Next up is The Apartment, which is a Arrow Academy film. This is one of the Best Picture winners, and this did get a re-release because they usually came with a booklet and it was like out of print, and they had a really crappy copy from one of the bigger studios that re-released it, and I hate the cover of it, honestly, and it was only like $6, but looking at reviews and comparisons and everything, it's not a good release. So I went ahead with Arrow. It was on sale for $20, so really good deal. I do like the artwork on this a lot better too, so really wonderful film. One of the best picture winners to win. So yeah, next up we're moving into the 4K titles, and that is Ford versus Ferrari. I've been waiting for this title to drop in price for 2 years now. Finally did. Of course, it doesn't come with a slipcover now. That's what happens when you buy things late. But really enjoyed this film. I really do like James Mangold as a director. He's done some really phenomenal films. Obviously, 3:10 to Yuma being one of my favorites. Walk the Line is another great one. And I even think he did a really good job with the last two X-Men films, if you call them X-Men films, really. I guess Wolverine films, specifically. And I'm really excited for Indiana Jones 5. I think he, of all directors, is going to do a good job with it. So, incredible movie. I know this movie gets compared to Rush a lot. And while I do agree Rush has the better racing, this has the better story, the better characters, and still some really great racing. So, let's not discount this film because it's about as good as Rush. Because Rush has some really annoying, terrible characters, but I still own it because I really enjoyed the film regardless. But I'd say I might like this a little bit better than Rush. Next up is Scarface, a movie that I recently rewatched because the first time I saw it, I really didn't like it. And boy, did my taste change in 7 years because I actually dug this film quite a bit. Also waiting for the price to drop. I think it was like $13 or something. Again, no slipcover. How wonderful. But Al Pacino is wonderful. I love the score in this film as well. Usually I'm not a big fan of crime dramas, but this one surprisingly satisfied my taste. Next up is Tenet on 4K. Finally got around to getting this one. It was on sale, and amazes me that it came with a slipcover, being I got this on Amazon. Usually never provide you with a slipcover. I think it's one of the most underrated films of last year. We didn't get a whole ton of great films last year, but Tenet was one of the biggest blockbusters of that year. That was just very fun to watch, mind-bending, and very typical of Nolan. It's not Nolan's best film, but I think more people need to give this movie a chance before just trashing it, because obviously he's done some better films with Inception, I think, and Memento, and Prestige. They're all wonderful movies, but still a amazing Nolan film that did win for special effects. It did win something finally. Because that's another director, like I said with Interstellar, he's always getting snubbed, and it's freaking crazy. Tenet's a really good movie. Do check it out if you haven't seen it. And last but not least, I picked up the Back to the Future trilogy on 4K. Really love these films. They're so revisitable, enjoyable, kind of just a product of its time, and it's just like, they're such timeless films. I do own the Blu-ray of all three films. I think it was like the 25th anniversary, something I bought a few years back. But for $30, you can't really pass this up. 3 movies on 4K that have been restored. I usually don't double dip, but for the price point and the fact that there's just been enhancements in both visuals and audio, and that there's more special features on here, just kind of thought, you know what, let's just get it. You might as well. So that's it. Those were all the films I picked up. Quite a bit. Went way overboard. There were still a few titles that I was like thinking about whether I should pick up. I think I'll pick them up later on. There's just many titles that are on sale. Even on 4K, there's so many sales going on during Prime Day, and ones that just keep coming out. It's like, wow, $12 for a 4K title. It's pretty incredible, but you got to draw the line somewhere. These were all the films I picked up, and I'll probably be picking up a few more Criterions in November. I know Foreign Correspondent is going to be one I'll pick up, but we'll see what else to pick up, because usually once the Criterion sales start on Letterboxd, I do the Criterion challenges, where I go ahead and watch more and more Criterion films, because obviously there's so many of them, and a lot of them I have not seen. So that about does it for my Blu-ray update. I'm sure I might do an unboxing of Back to the Future, the 4K digibook at some point on the channel. Maybe. Don't hold me to that, but I'll try to do that. But in all, that was my Blu-ray update, and I just want to thank everyone who's watching. If you guys have any thoughts, opinions, just make sure to leave it down below in the comments section. Comment what you guys got during these June and July sales with Criterion, Arrow, Prime Day in general, Shout Factory, I know, had some sales or something. So comment down below. And thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate the support, and I'll see you guys next time for more boxings, reviews, and movie news.